Photography is an art, like all visual art, that has things in common with other arts and things that are unique. The most important thing for a photographer is seeing. You have to see what's really there, not what you want to be there. You know, is the telephone pole growing out of his head or isn't it? You know, so the second thing is removal. You remove everything from the scene that's not going to make your picture. So it's editing. When you use it like a camera on a tripod, you can compose. But when you use a hand camera, something might happen really quick, and you hope you got it. And that's a kind of spontaneity that makes shooting in the street so interesting, you know, especially in Manhattan. Sometimes you see a scene and you know exactly what you want to do. When I saw this, we were in the parking lot looking for the car, and of course, there's a lot of stuff around it. There's the rest of the building, and when you look at a scene and there's something that provokes you to get your camera out, I concentrate on what is it that makes me stop and look. And then, can I get the essence without doing anything except moving closer or farther back? I'm not going to move these lights. I'm not going to change those shadows. So in this, I looked at the whole scene and I knew exactly what I wanted. That doesn't happen very often. And I went in, and I think this might be the full frame. But the seeing is to remove everything that is not the picture. And of course, after it's taken, then you see there's this shape and this shape and this shape and that. But you don't think of those things when you're spontaneously taking a picture. I'm sure I did not take more than 3 pictures of this scene. It was satisfying. As soon as I saw it, I knew I had something. I'm very pleased with that. So I place myself where the picture I hope is going to be, and then I wait for someone to walk into it. I would be set up, and then I would see people down the street. Maybe they would come all the way, and you know, like the store windows here, I'm here, the sidewalk is here, but whether they're walking by where you are or they're walking by here is going to be the surprise. So I know what the picture is going to be, but I don't know the detail. When I got out of the Army, like I say, I was young and not very smart, and I only knew 2 things. I didn't want to be in the Army anymore, and I didn't want to work in the steel mill anymore. When I moved to New York from Ohio, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about anything. I was 21 years old. What made me different from my peers, I had seen castles in Germany. And coming from Ohio, that's far out, man. So I ended up, I lucked into a job with a professional photographer, and I worked for him for some years. And then my brother got out of the Air Force, and he joined me, and he got interested in photography. And that provoked me to become serious about photography, to quit fooling around. I started looking at other people's work, but there wasn't much. There was the Museum of Modern Art, there was the Metropolitan Museum, and maybe there was a gallery that specialized in photography, but there wasn't much. So I expanded my search. I looked at all printmaking. I became enchanted with Japanese woodblock prints, Hiroshige and Hokusai in particular. And I would go to any place there would be at the back of the Village Voice, which was a weekly paper, a list of galleries and museums and things that were cheap. And I think it was cheap and under $2. The expensive galleries were on 57th Street. And I went to a show of Rembrandt prints on my lunch hour. And I saw people in that gallery I had never seen in a gallery before. Old ladies covered with furs, with enough money to buy Rembrandts. You never saw them in the Village or Soho. I never saw them anywhere else. I would dabble in different things, and I would get a feel for that activity. Like I did one weaving, very simple rag rug kind of thing. And we don't know what happened to it. But from that one activity, I learned a lot about fabric arts that I wouldn't have any idea. When I was in school, I did a little piece of clay. And it didn't amount to anything, and it wasn't of anything of consequence. But it gave me a knowledge about that activity. Street photography gave me the most spontaneous feelings of taking pictures. But it wasn't limited to that. We were visiting a friend in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and we went to this big cemetery near El Morro Castle, or fortress. And the statues were life-size. And you're walking along, baking in the tropical sun, even though it's February. So I'm walking around the cemetery, and I got kind of a feeling like these life-size angels and whatnot were alive. And so I would act as if they were alive. I would get my camera and turn around and shoot. And I was very successful from my standpoint in that I got 2 or 3, maybe 4 prints that I thought stood up well. I also have done portraits of my friends where, they sit, we know where they're going to sit and where the camera's going to be. And at that time, all those portraits were done in black and white, so the lighting was easy. And my thought was that all the early photography was, there was only one light, it was the sun. So some of those pictures were beautiful. So I thought that when I did my portraits, I would use one light. I don't think I ever used a reflector either. I tried to, I'd make an arrangement that I could take a portrait of my friend, and the time would be agreed on. And then when I got there, if they had an idea of where they wanted to sit or how they wanted their picture taken, then I would do it that way. If they had no preference, then we would do it my way. And I tried to have a certain consistency. I have a friend who took pictures, portraits, and they were all lit by window light. So I thought I would make a series, and I would have everybody, I would have a window in the picture, just for consistency that no one's ever noticed. Inescapable part of photography is equipment. That we can do things now that couldn't be done before. And we can do things now that could have been done before, but with great difficulty. When I finally decided that digital color was truer, or was far truer than chemical color, that's when I became serious about using it. I was able to see color for the first time as a necessary component of the picture. When I was doing only black and white, I saw in black and white. So what changed was equipment. The street was the same. The images to be had of the street, the cars, the taxis, the people, those things changed. What the women were wearing changed. And my attitude became freer, so that changed. But the city still affected me the same. I viewed the city as a giant forest, that the buildings grow up ever higher. But the stuff at street level was like blossoms, that the scenes that you see walking, you won't see any other way. So I still feel that way. It's an organic experience, Manhattan. Of course, we used the camera as a diary. And sometimes we wish that we had paid more attention. I would advise young photographers to keep a diary, but not about their feelings, but about just who that was in that picture.